Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at venture capital
Okay.
and kind of clever strategy that we found that they're using
Interesting.
to help their startup investments succeed.
Okay.
And this is all about partnering with something called professional employer organizations,
Oh, okay.
PEOs.
PEOs, got it.
And it's a pretty fascinating area because essentially what it does is it gives these small startups access to these like Fortune 500 level HR resources.
Wow. Okay.
So it really levels the playing field.
That's huge, especially now when it's so hard to get people.
Yeah, it's all about talent, right?
Yeah, you got to have the best people.
Exactly. And our sources are showing that this is like the secret weapon that a lot of these venture capitalists are using
Okay.
to win the war for talent.
Interesting.
So we're going to dive into how it works, what the benefits are,
Yeah, I'm curious.
and some real-world examples of how it's playing out.
Okay, cool.
So what's really interesting is this idea of leverage. It's almost like these venture capitalists are bundling their startups together
Right.
to get access to these PEO services that a single early-stage company
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to get on their own.
Makes sense. Kind of like a group discount.
Yeah, exactly, like Costco for HR.
I like that analogy.
Instead of toilet paper, you're getting benefits packages and compliance guidance.
That's a much better deal.
Right.
Yeah, way better.
And that can be huge for startups, especially when they're trying to scale quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine
Yeah.
being a small startup and suddenly having access to the same HR resources as like a Google or an Amazon?
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's a game changer.
So let's take a closer look at how this actually works in practice.
Okay.
So you've got all these startups under a VC's umbrella, and they're all facing similar challenges.
Right. Hiring, finding good people,
Yeah, figuring out all the legal stuff,
keeping up with the laws.
making sure they offer benefits that are competitive.
Oh, that. Yeah.
So that's where the PEO comes in.
Okay.
They act as a co-employer and take on a lot of those administrative burdens of HR.
Got it.
So everything from payroll and benefits to compliance and risk management.
So it's like having a team of HR experts on call, basically.
Exactly. And that frees up the startup founders to really focus on what they're good at.
Yeah, developing their product, innovating, growing the business.
That's the key, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what they should be spending their time on, not getting bogged down in HR paperwork.
Exactly. And that's why VCs are so excited about this strategy,
Makes sense.
because it really helps their startups grow.
Right. It's like a force multiplier for their investments.
And if their startups are successful, everyone wins.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
The startups, the employees, and of course the VCs themselves.
Absolutely. It's a win-win-win situation.
So one of the biggest challenges we see startups facing today especially is attracting and keeping great people.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough market out there.
Yeah, it's competitive.
Super competitive.
But offering those competitive benefits can be a real challenge, especially for companies that are just starting out.
Yeah, they might not have the resources or the budget to offer the same kind of perks as bigger companies.
Right. And let's face it, in today's world, benefits are a big deal.
Oh, huge. People want more than just a salary.
Yeah, they want the whole package, health insurance, retirement plans, maybe even some fun perks.
Yeah, gym memberships,
Yeah.
student loan assistance, all that stuff.
Exactly. And that's where a PEO can really shine, because they can give these startups access to benefits packages that are normally only available to much larger companies.
Right.
And because they're working with a pool of companies, they can negotiate better rates.
Right. Economies of scale.
Yeah. So even small startups can offer their employees really great benefits.
That's smart.
We found this really cool example in our research. JustWorks helped a small agency create this awesome benefits package that included everything from health and dental to a 401k.
Wow, that's amazing.
And get this, they saw a 50% reduction in employee turnover.
That's huge.
Yeah, so it really shows the power of a well-designed benefits package.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about attracting new people. It's about keeping the ones you have happy.
Exactly, and showing your employees that you value them,
Right.
which leads to better morale, increased productivity, lower turnover.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Speaking of attracting top talent, we can't forget about the importance of compliance and risk management,
Oh, yeah. That's crucial, especially for startups.
because it's so easy to get tripped up, right?
Yeah.
Especially as they grow and expand into new markets.
Yeah, the laws are constantly changing. It's a minefield out there.
And the consequences of not complying can be really severe.
Oh, yeah. Big fines, reputational damage.
Exactly. So that's where PEO can step in
Okay.
and act as a legal shield.
I like that.
They have the expertise and the resources to make sure these startups are on the right side of the law and following all the rules and regulations.
So it takes a lot of pressure off the startup founders.
Exactly. It gives them peace of mind.
They can focus on growing the business instead of worrying about legal issues.
Exactly. And that peace of mind is priceless,
Mm.
especially for founders who are already juggling a million things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it really is like an insurance policy for your HR.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding those fines and lawsuits.
Yeah.
It's about building a solid foundation for growth.
Right.
When a startup has their HR in order,
Mm-hmm.
it just signals stability and professionalism.
Makes them look good.
Yeah, and that's really attractive to investors and partners.
It's like a stamp of approval.
Right.
Shows that they're well managed.
And prepared for success.
Yeah.
And that can make a huge difference when it comes to securing funding or attracting that top talent.
That's right. Because people want to work for companies that have their act together.
Exactly.
And a PEO can really help startups project that image.
That they're competent and reliable.
Mm-hmm. Or sources mention this case where a PEO actually saved a biotech startup $250,000
Wow.
in potential fines.
Yeah.
They had some issues with employee classification, which can be a real headache.
Oh, yeah, especially in industries like healthcare.
Yeah, super regulated.
Lots of rules.
And that's a perfect example of how a PEO can not only prevent those costly mistakes,
Right.
but also free up those startup founders
Yeah, let them focus on what they're good at.
to focus on what they do best.
Building that business, disrupting the market, innovating.
Yeah, because most founders aren't HR experts.
Right, and they shouldn't have to be.
Exactly. Their time is much better spent developing their product, building their team, scaling their business.
And that's where the PEO comes in.
Thanks, Carol, that HR stuff
Lets the startup operate more efficiently.
more effectively.
And that scalability is essential for startups that are looking to raise capital.
Oh, yeah, because investors want to see that a company has a solid foundation for growth.
Right, and that includes HR.
Makes sense. One of our sources shared this great example. Insperity helped a tech startup onboard like 100 new employees
Wow,
rapidly without missing a beat.
that's incredible.
And that kind of efficiency allowed the startup to double their revenue in 6 months.
That's amazing. It really shows the value of a PEO.
It's not just about checking boxes and filling out paperwork.
It's about enabling growth and helping startups reach their full potential.
So we've been talking a lot about the benefits for the startups, but what about the VCs themselves?
Yeah, good point. How does this impact them?
How does this PEO strategy impact them?
Well, think of it this way. A PEO can help de-risk their investments
Okay.
by ensuring that their portfolio companies have a solid HR foundation.
Mm-hmm.
They're increasing the likelihood that those companies will succeed.
Because HR issues can be a major distraction for startups.
Oh, yeah, a huge liability even.
And with a PEO in place,
Those risks are minimized.
and the VCs can feel more confident.
That their investments are in good hands.
And that confidence can lead to higher valuations, faster growth, better returns for the VC firm.
It's a win-win for everyone involved.
It sounds like a pretty smart strategy.
It is.
But are there any downsides?
Well, that's a good question, and it's important to be aware of the potential challenges.
Yeah.
One concern that I hear a lot is about loss of control. Some founders might be hesitant to hand over HR to a third party.
Yeah, I can see that, especially for founders who are used to being really hands-on.
Right.
What would you say to them?
I would say that it's important to remember that the PEO relationship is a partnership,
Okay.
not a takeover.
Sure.
Startups still have control over key decisions.
Firing, setting the culture?
Exactly. The PEO is there to provide support and expertise.
Not to tell them what to do.
Exactly. It's about delegation, not relinquishing control.
So leveraging their expertise.
To handle those more routine and complex aspects of HR.
Okay, makes sense. Are there any other potential drawbacks that VCs should be aware of?
And another one is cost. Some might argue that the fees associated with the PEO could outweigh the benefits.
Especially for really small startups.
Right, with very limited HR needs.
The bundled approach helps bring those costs down, right?
Right. It does. And it's also important to consider the hidden costs of managing HR in-house.
Yeah, like all that time and those resources.
Spent on payroll benefits, administration, compliance.
So a PEO can actually save money in the long run.
Exactly. By streamlining those processes, preventing costly mistakes.
And with those economies of scale, even for smaller startups, it can be cost effective.
Right.
Okay, so let's say a VC firm has decided to go with the PEO strategy.
Okay.
How do they choose the right one for their portfolio companies?
Well, first, you got to assess the needs of each startup,
Figure out their pain points.
their growth projections, what kind of culture are they trying to build.
So it's not one size fits all.
No, not at all. It's about finding the right partner for each startup.
One that aligns with their needs and goals.
Exactly.
And once they've identified those needs, what should they look for in a PEO?
Well, experience and expertise are crucial.
Yeah.
Look for a PEO that has a proven track record.
Working with startups in their industry.
Exactly. They need to understand those unique challenges.
So industry specialization is important.
It can be very helpful.
What about the range of services that they offer?
That's another important thing to consider.
Should cover all their needs?
Payroll benefits, compliance, risk management, the whole shebang.
What about technology?
Oh, that's crucial these days. You
Yeah.
want a PEO with a user-friendly platform.
That integrates with their existing systems.
Yeah, that's key.
So finding a PEO that's tech savvy?
And can help them stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, what about communication and support?
Communication is key. You want a PEO that's proactive.
Okay.
Keeps you informed, answers your questions, provides ongoing support.
So easy to work with.
Yeah, feels like an extension of your team.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits, the drawbacks, how to choose the right PEO.
Right.
But I think it's time for some real-world examples
Yeah, let's hear some stories.
to really highlight how these PEOs have made a difference.
Okay, let's do it.
So our first case study comes from the tech industry.
Okay, fast-paced, competitive.
This startup had developed this cutting-edge software solution,
Okay.
and they were experiencing explosive growth.
Nice.
But their HR infrastructure was struggling to keep pace. It's a common problem,
Oh, yeah, things move so fast.
especially in tech,
You got to be able to keep up with the growth.
especially when it comes to all those HR functions,
Hiring, onboarding, payroll benefits.
all of that.
It can be overwhelming.
And they were trying to do all that with a limited budget and a small team.
Yeah, that's tough.
So they decided to partner with a PEO.
Okay.
They chose a provider that really specialized in tech,
Okay.
had a strong track record of helping startups scale.
Makes sense.
So they essentially outsourced their whole HR department.
To the experts. Yeah,
And it worked.
it did.
The PEO took over all that heavy lifting,
Freed up the startup team.
let them focus on what they were good at.
Innovating, developing their product.
So they were able to free up a lot of time and resources.
Yeah, put it back into the business
And they got access to all this expertise and resources.
that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Like what kind of resources?
Well, they got a top-tier benefits package.
Okay.
Helped them attract and keep great people.
Mm-hmm.
They got expert compliance guidance.
Important.
So they knew they were following the law?
Yeah, and I bet it gave them a lot of peace of mind,
Oh, absolutely.
knowing that their HR was in good hands.
You're right. They could just focus on growing their business.
So it sounds like this PEO partnership really made a difference.
It was a game changer for them.
They kept growing,
Secured funding.
became a major player in their industry.
That's the dream.
So we've seen how a PEO can help a tech startup.
Right.
But what about other industries?
Well, let's take a look at healthcare.
Go.
This startup developed a revolutionary new medical device,
Wow.
but they were facing so many regulatory hurdles.
Yeah, healthcare is super complex.
It's a minefield.
What kind of challenges were they facing?
Well, they knew that even a small mistake could cost them.
Yeah.
Delays, fines.
Prevent them from getting their product to market.
Exactly.
So what did they do?
They partnered with a PEO that specialized in healthcare compliance. So they had experts on their side
People who knew the regulation.
and could guide them through the process.
Smart move.
They developed a compliance plan, made sure all their paperwork was in order,
Yeah.
and helped them get through the approval process.
So they were able to launch their product fast.
Much faster and with confidence.
That's amazing.
It is.
So PEOs can be valuable for any industry
Yeah, they provide that expertise and support that startups need.
that they can't afford on their own.
Exactly.
Okay, let's wrap up with one last case study.
Okay.
This one's from e-commerce.
Hi.
So this startup was growing really fast,
Sales were booming.
but they couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah, their customer service team was overwhelmed.
I could see how that would happen.
Especially in e-commerce, everything moves so quickly.
And what happened?
Well, they started getting negative reviews,
Oh, no.
complaints online.
That's bad for business.
It's a nightmare.
So they knew they had to make a change.
Yeah, or they would lose customers and hurt their reputation.
So what did they do?
They partnered with a PEO that specialized in e-commerce customer service.
Interesting.
Yeah, they helped them come up with a plan.
To improve their customer service,
They hired new people, trained them, implemented new technology.
were they able to turn things around?
They were. Their response times got faster.
Good.
Customer satisfaction went up,
Right.
and they saved their reputation.
That's awesome. So this shows how PEOs can go beyond just the traditional HR functions.
Yeah, they can help with all sorts of business challenges.
Wow, we've covered a lot today.
We have
From cost savings to compliance,
scalability, talent acquisition
PEOs offer a lot of benefits.
for both startups and VCs
I think our listeners have a much better understanding now,
of how PEOs are changing the game.
helping startups reach their full potential.
Yeah, it's been great talking about this with you.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy diving.